friends, Shawn here with Manly Made Minute, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to another episode of my Anthony's Papercraft Design Team series. I've done this for another design team. I've done this for my watercolor 30-day watercolor challenge that I'm doing, and I gotta do this technique for Anthony's Papercraft in the Poinsettia. Perfect technique to do this. Super easy, super quick. You're going to absolutely love the look of this card. You're going to love this technique and how easy it is. And you can do this. Anybody can do this if I can do this. All right? So we're going to do a little watercoloring, and I've got out my Reinkers to watercolor. I'll explain this as I go how this works, and just things to be careful of when you're using the Reinkers. They react much different than your watercolor mediums, your watercolor pencils. They react just slightly differently when you go to paint them on, and I'll show you and explain to you how I'm doing this as we go. All right? Before we get started, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up and comment. Much appreciated. Would love to hear if there's anything you'd like to see me do, or if you just like my content. So would love to hang with you and would love to have you be part of my channel and my card making journey. So let's just go down to the down camera and let's just get started on how easy this card's going to be. So I am using one of my favorites from Anthony's Papercraft, which is the holiday. This is the Christmas foliage stamp. All right, beautiful, beautiful stamp. It's got vintage vibe, it's got a country vibe, it's got a classic vibe. So beautiful set, beautiful to watercolor and just colored pencils, you name it. Embossing, which is what we've done today. So this is what we're using. We're using this full set, no other set mixed with this one. Full disclosure, I have received these products for free as a design team member. He is having a up through November 30th, and I think I'm airing this beforehand, a store-wide 20% off sale with my code SAPC10. I'll put that on the screen for you. And then I believe he's going to keep discounting here through the end of the year as he is going out of business and going into a new teaching journey, so I'm super excited for him. But up through the 30th of November, this is 20% off with my code, and store-wide 20% off. All right, I have pulled the pine out of this set, and then the poinsettia. Poinsettia I have already pre-embossed in red, and the red that I'm using is the Stampin' Up! Red. It's an older bottle, okay? The other one that looks absolutely beautiful with this stamp is the Tim Holtz Distressed Aged Mahogany. Looks amazing on this stamp, and I've done that before. So I'm going to do my leaves here first, so it dries on this as we watercolor. So I took the pine, and this is the inside of my card. So this is an A2 size card cut the long way. It's going to get folded just like so, this way, and it's going to flip from bottom up. Okay, so it's just going to flip up and inside. I'm just going to add some elements of leaves on the inside here so I can carry that, because we're going to stamp it on this too. I'm using Catherine Pooler Spruce to stamp this down. So we're just going to go right in the corner here. And then we'll add a couple up on the other side. That way this just has time to dry as we do our quick watercolor technique. Alright, we're going to go right about here, I think. So I just wanted to carry this kind of onto the inside of the card. That's it. We're going to set that aside. That'll dry as we finish, and then we're going to stamp around the edge of this when we're done. Alright, here's how easy this is going to be. Get out your Reinkers. Use any color you want. Okay? You can use stamp or Reinkers. I'm using Reinkers. So what I'm talking about, how this reacts and so forth, is just with the Reinkers. Catherine Pooler specifically, not sure if they all do this, but I'm assuming. I'm using the peppermint scrub for my floral, and I'm going to use some eucalyptus and melon ice for the leaves. So I'm just going to do a couple drops of my Reinker here, and then we'll use my eucalyptus. Oops, I did not mean to squeeze that way. That is way too much, but anyway. And then the good thing about this is it doesn't take hardly any product either. So you can, I mean, this is probably 10 cards worth, but that's okay. Now, what you want to do is, I want to get my area that I'm going to add this wet. Okay, so I'm just going to stick to the petals here first. And I'm getting my watercolor paper. I'm using Canson XL watercolor paper. I'm getting this good and pooled up here. When I say pool, it is like a bubble of water sitting on the surface in between my embossing. And I'm going to keep brushing over it because I want this to work into the paper a little bit. So it's good and wet. And I'm only going to do a couple petals at a time so that this doesn't dry back too much on me. Now what you need to do, and I'll get out my little paper towel here, is get a thirsty brush. Thirsty brush, if you just haven't done much watercoloring, is just get the water off of it. Now it's thirsty. Now I'm going to pull back and slurp up this water, but what I want to do is just leave enough water on that surface so I have little surface tension, and it's almost just like a little skating rink of water left. Okay? It's not a bubble, but it's like a skating rink. So I got just a thin layer of water over all this surface with some tension on it. Now I'm going to take my brush, get the tip of it wet, pick up some of that peppermint scrub, and I'm going to dab this down in the base and let this pool naturally. And you can see how fast that pulls up. Okay? This reacts so much different with water than the other mediums that I've been using. Now I'm going to clean this up because what I need to do is I need to get a little water back into this and soften this down. So if I get this wet again, I can kind of soften and slurp this up so I get a soft effect. What I'm going for here is red with white tips, or softer tips, right? So I can get this intense color up in this base area here, and then just let that soften down and pool out. And I think I'm going to pull back. If you keep wetting, get a thirsty brush and pull it out, you can keep pulling this off the paper. It will react that way like a normal watercolor will. And that's what I want. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing on this one. Is I'm just going to get this pulled back off that tip of the petal a little bit. And that's it. Okay, I'm going to go back over to this one because I need to pull some of that up but then soften it back. Just like so. And I can actually pull a little intensity back into that. Just like so. And if you have to kind of keep working that product, keep working that product. Nothing wrong with that. Don't feel like you got to do this in one solid swoop and get it where you want it to be, because these mediums are not that way. Okay, so that is what I'm going for. All right, now we're going to repeat this process. Okay, so I'm going to get my petal good and wet and pool. I've got a bubble of water sitting on the tension surface of this paper in between that embossing. Okay? Keep working it over the paper so that it gets that paper wet before you get a thirsty brush, and then pull back to my skating rink. Okay? So I'm going to pull back to that very thin layer of skating rink water over the top. Okay? Then I'm going to get the little tip of my brush wet, pick up a little bit of that color, and dab that at the base. You can see how that just naturally blooms out quick. That's the thing I learned about this product, is that it blooms out and spreads out much quicker and much easier than the watercolored pencils I've been using in my 30-day challenge, the pan watercolors I've been using. The surface tension of the water reacts much different with this product, with a Reinker, than it does the other ones I've used so far. And then just work this to where you want it. Now, I'm not worried about getting into this shading like I have on other videos with this particular stamp, because I need some of that white. I'm going to use that white as my highlight shading this time, because I'm just going for that red and white flower. Now, I will say this peppermint scrub is coming out just a little darker than I envisioned here at the base, but that's okay. That's why I'm going back over just a little bit to pull some of that darkness off, because it's almost looking a little brownish. So I'm pulling some of that out. Okay, repeat. Get my pool with sitting on top of that surface. It'll pool between that embossing for you. Work it over the paper so that that paper starts soaking it in. And now thirsty brush and pull back to a nice skating rink over the top. Just a thin layer of water. If you pull back too much, it soaks into the paper too fast and it won't bloom. Alright, get that little tip of the brush wet. Dab, 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 and you can see that just goes right out. It's quick. Like it's quick when you do this. So you're definitely have a little bit of work after the fact to pull some of this out, because of the fact it blooms out so much. And I'm just re-wetting and then pulling that back so I can go dark to light. That's all I'm doing here. Same technique on each individual petal. Same thing here. And I'm pulling some of that off that base just because it is, again, getting a little dark. Thirsty brush is key here too. Okay. And then my last two petals, same thing. Working that into the paper, pulling that back, like so. Get that tip wet. And then just let that bloom out. And I'm just pulling some of that back off and getting my ombre to the tips there to get it to go to pale white or pink. And then as this dries back, you may need to go and soften out some of that ombre with a little more water to pull some of that off. It stays workable. It does the same as a watercolor. If it's a water reactive ink, it stays workable. I think I'm going to layer one more color onto this just because I feel like I want a little bit more red, because this peppermint scrub is coming out just a little brown. Pardon me. I'm going to grab my Rockin' Red, a little more Christmassy red, and I'm just going to add just a little bit back in. So what I need to do is just get a little surface tension back into these. Okay. Grab a little bit of that red and throw it at those bases so I can get that red to pop just a little bit better. There we go. That's much, much better. And then I just need to kind of work out that ombre a little bit. Pulling that back so I get that nice ombre into those tips. Don't be afraid to just kind of keep working your product, keep working your paper. The product is meant to be workable. Your paper is meant to be a little workable. So just don't be scared. And you got time. If it dries, you got time, because guess what you do? You re-wet it and you keep going. You keep working on it, right? That's what I'm doing. I'm just keeping wetting my paper and my product and keep working through it. Yeah, I just needed a little extra red onto there. I think that just helps. You can kind of see that's making a difference already, big time. Keep kind of working until I get that tone I need and want. And I've learned, I just said it here a little bit ago, but man, technique is huge with watercolors. Thirsty brush, wet brush, thirsty brush, wet brush. It's huge. I'm digging how this is turning out now with that little extra red in there. Much better. Just was getting a little brown. And honestly, I mean, I hadn't used these colors with this technique. So just, again, that is all the learning process too, to know what your product is, know what the overall effect is that you want, so that you know how these react. And that's, practice is key with some of these techniques, to get what you want. Keep working that down just a little bit more. Yep, that's just coming out digging. That is just right where I need it to be. So I'm just repeating the process over a second time here because of the color I'm adding into this for some more red. And then we'll move on to those the green, which is going to be same technique on the green. And then we're just going to stamp the same color that I stamped on the inside for my pine here, going around this poinsettia. Alright, a couple more left here. I just really am surprised at how this product blooms out. I've been trying to get this fast acting kind of bloom with all these other products for the last 20 some days, and I think it comes down to how much water I'm leaving, the product, which products do what. Alright, let's see here. Yeah, so feel free to comment if you've done this before, or I mean, if you watercolor a lot and you're experiencing kind of similar things that you have experimented and noticed that it does this, just let me know. Again, I'm just trying to get better. I love this watercoloring, and I think it's partially just because of the workability of this and how you can keep manipulating. It's just been really fascinating to me, but I've just wanted to learn watercoloring a little more, and that's where I started this 30-day thing. But if you've got suggestions, or you've done this and you've experienced the same things, or have questions for me, just let me know. Alright, we're almost done with this red. Alright, that will dry back right where I want it to dry back. Now I'm going to take just this yellow-green, throw that right here in the center. Whoops. Alright, repeat this process on our 3 leaves. So Get this good and wet. Good and wet, and you're going to just pull this back to a little skating rink. And on the leaves, because leaves like this are so little sections, I leave a little more water. Because then what I do is I'll just take and I'll just dab this all over. So this is my lighter one. Now I'll take that eucalyptus and just put that along and then just kind of lightly blend that in. Try to keep this a little more shadowy. Like so. That's it. Yep. Okay. Repeat. Rinse and repeat. On this one. Now because that's just a smaller one, not much water sitting there, I'm going to keep all that water on there. The leaves I like to mix and match. I've said this on a couple videos. These are like oil and water. They kind of mix and kind of don't. So it's just kind of figuring out the technique that you want for the effect you're looking for. And the leaves, I just really like this intermix of some yellow. And I've been doing a lot of bluish greens on these poinsettias, but for this one, because of the technique and stuff, that's why I just went with these colors. Okay, last one over here. Doing the same thing, grab that yellow green, throw some of that in there, grab my eucalyptus, alright, I have a couple spots where I want to just kind of pull some water off of or color off of the edge here that I got. Thirsty brush. You can get some water on there and lighten those little drips up. Then use a thirsty brush to kind of pull that water back off. And I had one little spot right here with some green. That's it, like so. Let's just dry this back so that I can do my evergreen on here. See a very white spot, so we're just going to blend that out just a tiny bit right there. I'm not going to add any shimmer to this. I've added a ton of shimmer to my previous ones, and I don't want to do that to this one. I'm just going for this pinkish, reddish white tips kind of poinsettia. Keeping this one just slightly more, I guess we'll call it basic. Another little drip right there. Making sure that green is just good and dry. Okay, I'm going to pull this same theme now onto the front that I had on the inside, using the same pine and using the same spruce ink. And I'm just going to surround my poinsettia. Okay, so just kind of place where you want to place some of this color and pine. Just trying to get some kind of layer and texture into this card. We'll probably just add a little ink splatter on here too. Get this kind of, trying to fill as much as I can. There we go. This stamp set, the elements in this stamp set, they just go so well together. In all kind of combos and things. So this is, to be honest, this is actually one of my favorite stamp sets. One of my favorite holiday ones that I have right now, for sure. Alright, we're going to do a little ink splatter to this and then add a sentiment right down here at the bottom. I think that we're going to possibly emboss. Actually, no, I'm going to do some gold splatter, so I think we're just going to go black on my sentiment, to be honest. Let me get my splatter box here. Set this stuff aside so that I do not spill and mess anything up. Okay, I'm using this little set I got off of Amazon. I'll put the link to this as well. But I love the golds and stuff in this one, because it's got lots of good pigment on it. Alright. You know, nothing says Christmas like gold splatter, does it? And nothing like, you look at a card and you're like, well, gosh, what else should I add? I'm missing something. Splatter. When in doubt, add the splatter. That's all there is to it. Can't go wrong with splatter. Dry this up. We'll stamp out my sentiment and assemble, and we've got ourselves a beautiful, beautiful Christmas card that, without my talking, this probably would have took me 10 minutes to do this front, embossing included. Probably 10 minutes total. It's that easy. Just the watercoloring. Once you get used to the shading and the pulling back and the how much water to use and how much water to leave for the ice skating rink, it goes quick. It's super easy to do. All right. I think we're going to use. I would like to use, because I haven't used the Wonder of before. So like the Wonder of Christmas, the Wonder of Cheer, the Wonder of Blessings, the Wonder of Wishes. The Wonder of Christmas. I would like to do if I have room here, kind of in this little area. Because of the layers and the color, I think we're just going to go VersaFine Onyx on it. Okay, let's see if that'll fit. Okay. Throw that right here in the corner. And magnet this down. I'd like to do, I think it will too, the Wonder of Christmas, because I haven't done that yet. Oh, that fits beautifully. That fits spot on. Now let's just make sure I'm straight. Hopefully my head is not too much in the way. I'm just getting my stamp straight here. Pick that up. We're just going to go VersaFine, because I like my VersaFine Onyx for my sentiments, and this has got a nice script on it that's a little smaller. I'm not going to push. I'm just going to tap and do this once or a couple times just to get a good vibrant sentiment. One more. Just a really quick tap. One more. Okay. Oh boy. This might be in my top maybe 3 that I've done so far this season. How this looks and technique and how this has turned out. Alright, let's assemble our card. While I'm assembling, I need you all to go over to anthonyspapercraft.com. You can use my code SAPC10 through the 30th of November. You will get 20% off with that code site-wide. So grab yourself a couple extra stamps while you're grabbing this Christmas foliage set. I'm telling you right now, I can confidently tell you, you will not be disappointed with this stamp set. I just love this whole set. Alright, let's just get that set. this glitter paper tends to not stick as well. So I got to kind of hold that down. Hopefully that didn't slide on me too much, because it will slide on this paper too. There we go. Let's just get that set. Grab my base. We've got to put my little insignia on the back. Okay. And let's put this on the front. Now, I've said before, my glitter layer here, my matte layer, is 5.5 by 4 1/4 and 1/8 less. Oh, this one just did not. So we're going to have to trim that off. I usually go 1/8 less because I like that little border, but this one I don't think I measured this. I thought it was to size and I grabbed it out of my pile. So we're going to trim this little excess off. I will always do 5.5 by 4 1/4 for this layer and do 1/8 less because I like that little bit of white border and I find it easier to line up, and I don't like to do this. I don't like to cut and trim things off because I can never get it straight and then I feel like it shows, and so I just trim it to that always. Personal preference. That is just from doing this and finding what I like. So, all right. What a great watercolored card. You could even put on here hand watercolored for you this holiday season or something on the back. But Reinkers technique, get that little ice skating ring, pull that back to keep those tips nice and white. I put the watercolor in the leaves and did not pull that back, stamped out the pine around the edges, gold splatter, and then your sentiment. There you have it. I don't know if I can get a front view of this or not, if that'll focus for me. Sometimes this front one won't focus too much, but all right. Thank you all so much for hanging with me and Anthony's Papercraft. Go ahead and head on over to his website, 20% off through the end of the month. Appreciate you all, and until next time, I'll see you then.